Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go. Hi, everyone. Today's Wednesday, November the 19th. My name is Anne-Marie Band, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. Charts by Trend Spider and Gamma Flows by the amazing Mentor Q. Today, I'm going to use 4-hour charts because I want you to see what the market is doing. And so you can see there's some sort of inventory accumulation here. I almost said bottoming because it is my suspicion that that is what is happening. People get nervous. Everybody's in speculative stocks that are moving up 10x, and then all of a sudden there's liquidation. So what do we have going on? Well, we've got a couple of things. Here's a downward trend line, very steep. We talked about how steep this line was days ago. And so it's very, very steep. The breakout event is this 6,688 level. So that trend line event is clearly downward there, but you can see that for the last 24 hours or so, we have been trending up, right? Higher lows. Momentum is off of the floor. It stayed very, very low. It's rising. This one's a little sticky. Okay. Yeah, this one's a little sticky. But what we can see is that the flow of negative pressure is waning a bit. We do need to see an updraft here. Yesterday, a lot of volume comparatively. It really is the highest volume that we've seen in quite some time. This is a great place to anchor a VWAP, by the way, simply because of the amount of volume that is sitting here. And that is also bullish, which is a good sign. We are still inside of that 4-hour candlestick, and we have been for the last 20 hours or so. Value area high, 66.85, very, very far away. VWAP, 67.83. Point of control, 67.61. The 0 DTE call wall is 67, interesting, 67.30. The 0 DTE put wall has moved down again. It's now 65.70. And the put wall remains 65, the big put wall, and the big call wall is still at 7,000. So what have we seen? Well, we've seen the 0 DTE drift down a little, but I believe that this could easily be a floor. How will I be wrong? We're going to lose 6,623, and we're not going to recover it. So what you want to look for is, as it loses 63.23, don't buy any dips. Let it recapture 66.23 if you want the long ride up. If you want to scalp, you can look to the lower edges and start buying those into prior resistance. But if we lose this 66.23, that's going to be the line in the sand that's likely going to shove us into the lower put support ledge and beyond. I have no idea what the news is going to look like. Overnight inventory is generally long this morning, and so we're going to expect some minor inventory correction, perhaps value area low, 66.50. That could give us a nice little run, and then that 66.57 level from the low of November the 7th could frame up as support. So what's the short story? We buy the dip unless it loses 66.23, and then if it bounces and fails, we can take continued short action. I think this market is primed to be long, but again, I know where I'm going to be wrong, so I'll be watching that. Let's go to the NQ. Same sort of flow, right? The 4-hour gives us a framework of the broad motion. We have a downward trend. So these guys are moving in tandem with each other. We've got upward drift over the last couple of days, and indeed still caught in quite a large box of inventory accumulation with slippery edges here. So you want to be fairly careful. What's the line in the sand? Now, I suspect it's this one, 24,500, right? 24,500 is a good floor right there. We lose that edge, it's going to get troubling. Okay, let's take a look at the big markers that the rest of the world sees. Value area high on the 4-hour, 25,700. Value area low, 24,600. We're really trying to hold that framework. You know, as I stare this down, this is a box within a box of inventory. And we've just broken out of that. So it is my suspicion that we get to the top of this box. This one is quite bullish. So holding the floor near 24,600, pretty good idea. If we lose 24,500, longs are going to be very suspect. So you want to be very careful there. Where are we headed? Top of the box, right? 24,850, 24,900. I would suspect that this 24,900 area is going to be really where price action tells us we're at a do or die, and then we stair step it all the way up. Let's take a look at these gamma flows. The big call walls, 26,000. The big put wall, 24,000, so 2,000 points of room. The 0 DTE call wall is at 25,000. The 0 DTE put wall is at 24,750. We are beneath that, so you know the traders are going to want to get above that. Yesterday, they had trouble holding that put wall. Today, they might not, right? We still, technically speaking, if we look at all the seasonality flows, we still have one more day of potential noise that gives us more downside pressure than upside pressure. But, you know, a lot of people are looking at the same data that I am looking at, and it suggests that around the 21st, we're going to have ourselves the beginning of a rally. So, that being said, what have we got? Dips are buys until we lose 24,500, at which point they become selling zones, but also big bounces. This is true for the ES as well. Big bounces are going to be sell zones because the trend is down, and there are people that are holding to the point that they want to be break even, and then they're going to get out of the trade. All right? So people have been buying the dip. They're going to try and get out. Sellers are in control at this juncture. They really, really are. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. This is the one that, if it turns around, we're going to see it here. If the market turns around, we're going to see it here. Why? Because this is where people put money when they're speculating, when they're looking for the I'm going to be rich kind of space. And one day this is going to be, I don't know what the zany numbers are, $500,000. I don't know. But for me, I'm just playing the table. I'm not saying anything about whatever. Don't get mad at me if you love Bitcoin and I'm trashing it this morning. I will trash everything if it happens to be going down. Okay? So don't fret. Where are we here? This is important. What have we been trying to do for the last couple of days? Hold a floor. Right? Upward trend. We're trying to hold the floor. So this trend line here is going to be very, very important for us to look at. 91,000, some kind of big number way in the past. As you know, we go all the way back here. My suspicion is that we're headed to the bottom of this box of inventory. I don't know when, but I suspect this is where we're headed. Could be next year, but this is what I'm thinking. That being said, notice this is a breakout zone. Huge pocket of inventory. Moved up, moved down, moved up, moved down, moved up, and then broke out. That's an inventory pocket, and they're going to buy old resistance that becomes new support. First place they tried to do it is at the put wall at 100,000. Look, they tried to do it. They could not get over 106, and that's it, right? I would not be surprised if we had a bounce, and if it was a $10,000 bounce, I would not be surprised. That being said, a $10,000 bounce is going to bring us to the put wall, which is at 100,000. All the traders that have had this monthly put wall sitting here, they're toast. Look, the 0DTE put wall, everybody's underwater here, except the calls, the ones who sold the calls. The 0DTE call wall, 110,000, that's where potentially I think the bounce lands in terms of being what it is. But the chains, these guys have really, I'm not sure about the level of sophistication sitting in these micro Bitcoin walls, right? Now for regular Bitcoin, different story, but for micro Bitcoin, I just don't know about the sophistication of the option traders in here. They've done a terrible job of holding supports. So that being said, put wall 100,000, call wall 109,000, and that's for the 0DTE. Where is this chart going to fall off a cliff? If it loses 90,000 at this time, you want to step out of the way if you're trying to buy a dip, right? If you're looking for a buy here, because you're like, okay, Anne-Marie, I hear you. What are we going to do? We've got to divide this inventory a bit into this zone. So we have the low of around 89. We have the high of around 93.5. We got a trend line above there. And then small pockets of inventory moving up the chain. Okay, so that being said, this halfway mark matters. You can see they're halfway in between the inventory. It looks like they've got wicks there right now, so I'd be very careful. Wait for the bottom of the box. Or you could take the short right here and have a pretty tight stop, right? Not bad. Momentum, very negative. But not a lot of pressure from a volume perspective. So that could easily move down. They are trapped inside of the candlestick that occurred at 10 p.m. Eastern to 2 a.m. Eastern. Very interesting storyboard there. All right, taking a look at gold. Gold's on the rise again. 4-hour chart tells us that it is in a very large pocket of accumulation. Have a gander at this, right? Very wide pocket of accumulation. Now, it is above the 0DT call wall this morning, which is 4,100. And so this price action event, this is the first area of resistance. This is the candlestick they are walking up, however, right? See this candlestick right here? This is the one they're walking up. Anchored VWAP test. Yes, there are probably some sellers here. However, what is trend? Dips are definitely buys. Momentum looks terrible. So what we do know is that even as it rises, it's not rising with power. And so we should see some sort of rejection zone at the near term. Where is that? Well, wouldn't you know? It's this inventory box right here. And we're stepping into it. This is why I would suspect that we have a sell zone right here, $4,118. Now, if it pulls back and it holds the call wall, which remember, they want to get it underneath 4,100. But if it holds that call wall because of the steep trend event, we're going to see a move back up first into the midline of the box. Two pieces of inventory events, this inventory and that inventory. Two pieces of events that give us the first target at 41.34 and the next target at 41.55. Could we get all the way back up to 4,216? Absolutely. I do not believe this chart will go higher at this juncture. We are in a pocket, and with gold, this pocket will last for months, and then we'll have ourselves an acceleration break. So we're going to treat this as big trend events, right? We buy the dip, and we take profit at the resistance zones. Okay, big call wall still at 4,200, big put wall still at 3,950, 0 DTE at 4,000 for the put wall, and everything is sitting inside of the value areas bounded by the big call wall and the big put wall. So dips or buys. Dips are definitely buys, but you could scalp a trade short here at the top of this range as it leaks into the higher formation. But I like the dips. I do. I like the dip buying event here. Let's finally go to SPY. What are we seeing? Okay, this one's a little messy. Same. You can see that they're accumulating, you can see that they are giving us higher lows. That tells us that they are trying to collect here and move up. We're inside of the big candlestick that we made. You know, we spent so much time inside of the value area yesterday from 9:30 to 10:30. This is it, right? So the base of this floor, 655. The big put wall is at 660. We're above that. The 0 DTE put wall is at 664. We are below that. The 0 DTE call wall is at 667. Wow, that's super tight, right? 2 points. And then the big call wall is still 700. It's very dramatic. So what do we have here? We have a potential for a bounce. Trend is very steeply negative, so the bounces will bring sellers at the first pass. I think traders are a little nervous because it's been a hot minute since we've had several down days like this, and momentum by price and time is still steeply negative, but it's flattening out. It's not stronger that way. So, you know, dips are buys, but spikes are sells at this juncture. All right, you want to be careful overall because the market's volume has been a little bit thin. The chains have been thinner. The ladder or the dome or the depth of market has been thinner. We've got all kinds of weird things going on here. You just want to be careful. All right? Okay, everybody, that's it for me. I'll see you on the streams.